So good evening, everybody, and welcome for this Asian incoming tourism course. And tonight we have this webinar related to Chinese outbound travel, especially the mainland China. And here we have our keynote speaker, Mrs. Vivian Lee, who will be hosting you regarding this cross-cultural aspects of Chinese customers, Chinese people. And later on, I will switch to myself, and then I'm talking a little bit that tourism phenomenon in China, and also technical visit programs. But Vivian, floor is yours.
Thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. Now I will load the presentation, and then we can begin. Are you able to see the presentation full and it's moving?
I can see the first slide, and the second slide, yes.
Okay, excellent. Thank you, Gary. Good evening, everyone. This is Vivian, and tonight or this evening, we're going to share this Chinese outbound tourism and also Chinese culture. First of all, I would like to share a few words about my background. I have been working for Toolbox Consulting in the past 5 years in tourism development and also as a lecturer here. Before that, I have worked as a tour operator for Chinese and Hong Kongese tourist groups. And I have also worked as an interpreter for travel agency here for specialized for technical visit groups. And my study background is in business and software engineering. Also, I have studied MBA here for the Nordic market. So for today's presentation, we are going to go through 6 parts. And each chapter, we have different subjects. So first, we will check this overview of China and also Chinese language. Then we go through the culture backpack, Chinese food culture, number beliefs, lucky colors, and gift culture. And the 4th part is about how Chinese regard traveling and shopping. Then Chinese New Year, which is one of the major holidays in China, and also some other useful tips. And the last part is about COVID-19. So first of all, a general overview of China and the Chinese language. So here is a little comparison of Finland and China from the geographical view. And President Xi Jinping from China has visited Finland in 2017. For the time difference, we have a 6-hour difference in the winter time between China and Finland. In the summertime, there's 5 hours. China, the official name is People's Republic of China. The GDP and population, as you see the latest figure here, the capital is in Beijing, and the currency we use is marked as CNY, which is Chinese yuan. There's another pronunciation we say renminbi, RMB. So that's all Chinese currency. And the official language is Mandarin Chinese. We say it in Chinese as 普通话. We have 56 ethnic groups in China, and the Han ethnic group is the largest group in China. So in some areas of China, especially in the southwest, there are many different ethnic groups. So from here, you can see one photo here from one ethnic group, Naxi. And so in 2008, there's a Chinese photographer together with his team with 14 photographers. They travel around China and shoot photos and create a book, including all the 56 ethnic groups in China. So it's a huge project. And now in the picture here, you can see one of the ethnic groups, Naxi. In China, we have a city tier system, and this is unofficial hierarchy classification of Chinese cities. But nowadays, you read more and more in the news that cities are referring as the first tier, second tier. It is often reflect the differences in consumer behavior, income level, and population size. And here is a link. And if you're interested, you can also check out, according to this media, South China Morning Post, how they categorize cities into different tiers here. There's a small example here you can see from the map, from tier 1 to tier 4, marked in different colors. So the tier 1 city, including the capital, Beijing, Shanghai, Chongqing, Guangzhou, and Tianjin. So this is one of the tier system here. And China has a long history. So here is a brief list of the timeline of China. I highlighted a few here, which we will share a few backgrounds of these different dynasties here. And here is a photo of the last emperor of China, Puyi. He was only 2 years old when he became the emperor for more than 400 million Chinese citizens at the time. And here from Qin dynasty, this is quite long time ago. And what's very special about this dynasty is that it standardized the Chinese units for measurements, for example, such as weights, measures, and currencies. They were unified. For example, in this picture here, you can see it's the currency. So before the unification, the currency, the money is in different shape and also style, and then it's unified to be this Qin currency, as you see here, the round one with a square hole in the center. If you visit Xi'an in China nowadays, this is the place I would highly recommend. The Terracotta Warriors is a large collection of statues from that time. It is located 40 kilometers northeast of Xi'an. Xi'an is an ancient capital, one of the ancient capital in China. So here you can see it's very grandiose, and their size is as tall as a human size. From this picture, you can see this Bill Clinton, the former president of United States, and his family. They took a tour of the Terracotta Warriors in 1998, but he's the president. But average travelers, you are not allowed to step into these Terracotta Warrior areas. You can see it from above, so they are really human size here. And also Tang Dynasty, we call it the Golden Age. Nowadays around the world, there's Chinatown throughout the world, and Chinatown in Chinese, we still call it Tang People's Street, Tang Renjie. So you can see the influence of Tang Dynasty still lasts. And from Tang Dynasty, there is this collection of excellent poets through the whole dynasty. It's called 300 Tang poems. I remember when I was young, I also learned this collection of the poems. And here is a link for you if you are interested to see, to read some English translations for these poems. And here is the link, you can check it out. And from Tang Dynasty, there is also the Golden Age. For the architecture, you can see from the above picture, actually from Japan. Miss Yu Tingting, a tourist from Beijing, dressed in kimono, and visited Kyoto. So from here, we say that if you would like to see China from 1,000 years ago, it's good to visit Japan. Actually, now they have preserved it really well there.
If you want to check how China was quite.
Okay, for how it looks like 1,000 years ago, there is a very well preserved city in there. And the down picture is actually from China. From China here, from Xi'an, this Dazhen Temple. It is located in Xi'an. From the front part of the picture, you can see it's very well preserved, this temple. In the background, those high buildings, these are the modern city side. From Ming Dynasty, what's very significant is that the majority of the existing Great Wall of China were built in the Ming era. And also nowadays, the capital of China is Beijing. So the Yongle Emperor from Ming Dynasty moved the capital from Nanjing to Beijing. That's the year 1421. And also the Forbidden City in Beijing now was constructed during that time, the Yongle Emperor time. And another significant thing is about the Chinese ceramics became popular around the world. So now we can see one here it is the quite famous this Thorsby, New York. They have a Ming sales series in 2018. So this piece, which you see from the picture here, it is sold with, let me read, 2.8 million US dollar. So it is a very valuable and appreciated the ceramics from Ming Dynasty. Here we take a look of the Chinese language. So Putonghua is Mandarin Chinese. It is the official standard language in People's Republic of China. And Cantonese in Hong Kong, it is spoken there in Hong Kong. So according to the figure in 2016, it is 94.6% of the population in Hong Kong speak Cantonese. So from here, later we'll get into more detail what is this ni hao and hello and hi here. So the top part is pinyin, which is the alphabetical, how you learn to pronounce it. And then it is the Chinese character, and then the down part is in English. We do have different dialects in different parts of China. I remember when I was young, my father's friends from Shanghai, they visited us. I'm from the northern part of China, so they speak the dialect, their local dialect, Shanghai dialect. I have no idea what they are talking about. So it's very different when you speak local dialect, especially from the south. Here, you may have heard this already about simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese. Here is an example of simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese. This word means thanks or thank you here. And then officially, it is starting from 1950s because the government, the mainland Chinese government, began to reforming this written system. The goal is to reduce this illiteracy by making Chinese characters easier to learn. We will show more examples here. So for my generation, we learned simplified Chinese. As I mentioned earlier in my background, I was handling Hong Kongese groups. So for their advertisement in traditional Chinese, which is written that way, I'm able to read, but I wasn't able to write. So here for simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese in Taiwan and Hong Kong, they continue to use the traditional Chinese writings, the system there. But when we talk about traditional Chinese or simplified Chinese, we're talking about the written language, not referring to the spoken language. Here we have another example about simplified Chinese and traditional Chinese. This word means love. I give you a moment to take a look at how it is written and observe a little bit what's the difference. So the biggest difference here is that between these two words is the heart. So in the traditional Chinese written way, the heart in the center is there, and when it's simplified to the current days simplified Chinese, the heart is missing. So the supporters of traditional Chinese always often cite this word as example that traditional Chinese is kind of good way. Here is another example as the word open and simplified Chinese here and traditional Chinese. In the traditional character, actually, you're opening a door. So because there's a door on the outside of this word open. So in the simplified version on the left, then the door part is gone. And here is an example that traditional Chinese characters carved in stone here. So now here we can see two pictures, and the second picture is how we write 1, 2, 3, 4 in Chinese. For 1, 2, 3 is quite simple. It's just a straight stroke here. And then the upper picture is when we had this lecture before COVID. We are able to offer students the opportunity to write, try this calligraphy to write Chinese. It's actually, they manage pretty nicely here. And in China, we have this largest Chinese dictionary available now, and it consists of 568 different characters. And later I will mention that you can think a little bit how many. You don't need to know everything. You are not able to know everything. So think a little bit how many one person need to know to be able to manage daily life, for example. So here we have the language. As I mentioned earlier, the top part is the pinyin, how we pronounce it, and we have different tone. As you see here, both ni and hao, they are third tone. And the middle part is the character, how we write it. I have met foreigners who have learned Chinese and they're able to talk, but they're not able to write. So the characters are the challenging part, difficult part to learn as an adult. So here we have 4 different tones here. The first tone, second, third, and fourth. And I could try to pronounce it for you in order from the first tone. Ah, 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 ah. Did you hear the difference? So here is an example for this du, do. You read it as from the left is the first tone. Do, 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 do. So it's quite important when you learn Chinese, you remember the tone correctly. Otherwise, as you see here, they mean totally different things. The first one is city, second tone is poison, then the next one is stuck, and the last one is belly. And the Chinese writing, from this view, it's kind of building blocks. For example, here we have human, or person plus soil. I would review the result. It is sit, actually. And the next one, I leave it for you. So when you have 1 tree, it is a tree. When you have 2 trees, it's a woods. So when you have 3 trees there, what is it? Anyone? Any guessing? So the last one is a forest. I believe some of you have it in mind already. So when you piled up 3 woods together, then it became forest. And here is some common practice. I saw it in the chat part. Thank you. Yes, it's forest and jungle. And here is some practice, how we say, yes, we have English here as well. So 你好, 再见, 谢谢, 不客气, 欢迎您. This is said in a polite way to refer you in a polite way. And the last one is 对不起, sorry. So these are some basic phrases. And this is on the left. This is actually a picture from an actual book from the students in China. You can see when we learn the Chinese language, the upper part is the pronunciation, how to pronounce it, and then it's the character. So an educated Chinese person will know about 8,000 characters, but only need to know about 2,000 to 3,000 to be able to, let's say, read a newspaper. And then, as I mentioned earlier, this Latin alphabet part is pinyin to help you to pronounce it. We do also have a stroke order. That's very important, how you write it. The simplest character in Chinese language is 1, yi. You just write left to right, one stroke. And then the picture here in the down part, you can see there's a number marked in there. And this is for the stroke orders, which stroke you write first. So there are certain orders for this word in the picture, jump. It has 13 strokes here, and you can see how you write it. And one of the most complex Chinese character is this word, biang. And as some of you may have recognized this is a picture actually from Stockmann in Helsinki city center, but this was before COVID. Beyond this word, it's actually referred to a kind of delicacy, a kind of noodles from the from Xi'an area. And you can see one picture of a Chinese restaurant. So this is the most complicated Chinese characters. If you cover this picture of this word, I have no idea how to write it. It's just really complicated. So in Stockmann here in Helsinki before COVID, there is a restaurant, Beyond here in Stockmann. And nowadays they are in a different location. And here is a Chinese language stroke order. I would like to show you a very short video how this word rise is written. And as you see the background picture here, this is how we practice how to write when we were young. You repeat it, and also there is this square shape textbook that you can write the word. I will stop the share and try to go back to load the video. Let's see. Okay. You don't need to worry about the sound because the purpose is to see the video part, how the word is written. Basically, it says from left and then from top to down. So I will leave this link to the PowerPoint presentation. And when you get the presentation, if you are interested to know more about this, Chinese, how to write Chinese, the stroke order, you can also click the link to view more videos from YouTube here. Okay, now I'm back to the presentation, how to type Chinese on computer. This is actually a question raised by one of the students in the past. They are curious how to type Chinese into computers. So here is an example. For example, you want to type the word moon in Chinese, 月. The meaning is moon, and pinyin is Y-U-E, total 4 strokes, and the tone is 4. So how can we type this into computer? So first you enter the pinyin part, Y-U-E. You don't need to write the tone. Then it automatically suggests a series of words which has the same pinyin, has the same. So Y-U-E here, and you can press 1 or you press space. Then you get the word moon. So if the word you need is not among these characters, you can click next page to see more. So these are shown by word frequency. So it's very convenient when you just type YUE, and it will suggest automatically to you the most frequently used characters or words. For example, here you notice that YUE, when you don't specify the words or when you don't specify the pronunciation, it actually can be anything here. Like the first one is moon, the second one is the date or make appointment, the third one is over, and the next one is music. So that's why Chinese language is a complicated language to learn as well, and also interesting. And now we can see here Chinese language signs in Helsinki as well. This used to be in the airport before COVID in 2019. When you get from the airport to get to the train, you can see advertisement or sign like this. It says myhelsinki.fi, your local guide to Helsinki, in both in English and in Chinese. And on the left side, it says this picture is airport guide. This is inside the airport. Remember, it's near gate 29. So here is to promote finished products in the airport to Chinese passengers there. And here is a tourist taking selfie with a police officer, 2016. This is in Rome. Yes, Rome and Milan. They are helping the Italian police to for this Chinese tourists there, because there are millions of Chinese tourists visiting Italy. But this is the situation before COVID. And here, if you have worked with Chinese or deal with Chinese, you may have noticed some Chinese people use Western names. Like for myself, I also use Vivian as my work name, and also some of my friends, Western friends, also call me Vivian. So why do Chinese use English names instead of their real names? I gave a few examples here. For example, Lisa Wu, Frank Zhang, and even a Finnish name here, Ville Li, for example. And this trend started in the late 1970s when China opens the door, the reform and opening up of the country. Okay, now we take a look. So there are different reasons. For example, some Chinese names are difficult to pronounce. For example, this one here, E, this alphabet Y, is actually not easy to pronounce for non-Chinese speakers. And this is actually a real name, a friend of mine. He told me that he just tell his co-workers, Western co-workers, call me Alan, instead of struggling with his first name or surname. So Alan Zhao here. And some names has a misleading meanings. For example, here, Shiting. Shiting is a very beautiful name in Chinese. It's a poetic and a graceful, it means. But when you write it in pinyin, it's not very nice meaning. And also there's the hierarchy in Chinese Asian culture in a way that we find it awkward if you call your supervisor, for example, here, Xiao Li, because Xiao means little. So it's a kind of disrespectful. But if you call your supervisor Jennifer, it's perfectly okay. So that's some reasons why we use English names instead of our real names here. So if you regularly work with Chinese customers, it will be good to adopt a Chinese name here and have a bilingual language name tags or on your business card. For example, here, I have an example of Obama. And translate a name is very complicated task. I would suggest this best to lead to a native Chinese speaker to help you with that. So you would not only know the meaning of the name, and also if it's anyway associated with any meanings, cultural meanings. So here is some names with big brands here: McDonald's, Nokia, Coca-Cola, and this hotel chain in China. Now we come to the second part about the cultural backpack. Any thoughts about this picture? So here we have a 3-person passing the cross line here and with the red light, and it says Chinese style. So they shouldn't be passing when it's the red light here. And in Italian, the pasta has so many words to refer to it. So how about in Chinese or in China? What is the most important element in Chinese culture? It is the face. We call it 面子. It's reputation, respect, and honor. So losing face is serious embarrassment. And this is how different ways we refer or use 面子, face, to express certain meanings. And the English translation is somewhat more literal. But as a native Chinese, if you read this Chinese part, you can see the slight difference between the meanings. I remember I once showed this slide to in another lecture in Rugakusamo, and one of the audience is a Chinese. And when I shared the slide, she just laughed, because we as a Chinese, we get the meaning. Aha, yes, we have so many expressions to which is associated with face. And refusing is a politeness in Chinese culture. So Chinese is difficult to say no. So if you propose something, they may say, maybe, yeah, we will see. It's actually, they already meant no. So it's just a way to not to embarrass the person who proposed it in order to save face. And this is the hierarchy, which I mentioned earlier in Chinese culture, but this is no longer true. For example, from husband and wife, no, that's no longer true. But from older brother to younger brother, yes. From father to son, yes, still exists. So from here, we can see the 5 most important elements here. And it is 仁义礼智信. So basically, it's about being respectful, polite, and also humble, and be generous and kind. And this is one thing I would like to specifically mention. It's about 孝. This is a very big thing in China, that you have respect for your parents and ancestors. But with the one-child policy, however, the child is nowadays more center of the family, and also the affection for the parents and grandparents. And you see one of the cartoon here, the boy is kneeling down to grandparents to get this red envelope. Usually it's money inside. That's the old time. And nowadays, the one-child policy has made the child the center of the family. And the one-child policy was introduced in 1979. It's a family planning policy. And nowadays, we have this, has now 2-child policy. It's effective from 2016. China's birth rate has fallen in the recent years. But do Chinese couples want to have a second child? You can see from the cartoon here, not necessarily, because the high living cost, especially in cities, the long working hours, and also child care expense, the school. So it's actually quite burden to have a 2-child. That's why many families, they still only have 1 child. So China has a long history dated back 3,500 years, and Chinese people are very proud of their glorious past, and their Chinese customers, they're very happy if you, as a host, you speak some Chinese words and have some Chinese knowledge of China. But we do have positive feelings about Asian history, but also negative feelings regarding recent histories, especially like a Cultural Revolution, when China was weak and turbulent during these years. And here we can see, here Li Zhensheng, he's a journalist back in the Cultural Revolution years, and he managed to save some negatives photos he took during those years and publish it. Because when he was a journalist at the time, the photos he took, he's only able to publish a certain kind of photos, but later he managed to keep those other photos and managed to publish it to show what has happened during the Cultural Revolution. And this is published in 2003. And here is another book. And this book, if you're interested to read, it's available in this Finnish, you can buy in Finland on this web store. This is a lady, she's educated and graduated from London School of Economics. She got the education in the West and then returned to China. And in the late 40s or early 50s. But she has went through a horrible experience during the Cultural Revolution time. But she survived, and she wrote a memorial she wrote her life story in this book, Life and Death in Shanghai. It's really worth of reading if you're interested of that part of the culture, history. And this is, I'm sorry to say this, but because of the war, Second World War, in China, there's still this anti-Japanese sentiment in China. Not everywhere, but it still exists. For example, in my parents' generation, they still have this sentiment, or my grandparents' generation, they still have the negative sentiment against Japan because of the war. Now we take a look at the Chinese food culture, number beliefs, and lucky color and gift culture. In Chinese culture, we have beliefs in health beliefs in food, this yin-yang balance, and we also categorize the food. There's a classification into hot, warm, cold, or cool. So to make it simple, I show you here 8 pictures here of food, and think a little bit which of them belong to the warm side, which of them belong to the cooler side. I will review it in the next slide. We have here pepper, cucumber, ginger, watermelon, tofu, orange, pears, and lamb meat. Is this what you have guessed? So food with cooling characters, watermelon. I remember eating a lot of watermelon in the summertime in China. And here is tofu and the pear. We believe that, for example, if you feel uncomfortable with your lung or coughing, we would cook some pear soup or eat pear. And this is actually, if you can recognize, this is a certain type of pears. Sometimes it's not available in all the shops. In certain shops, you can find this kind of pear and cucumber and food with warming characters. And here we have ginger, lamb meat, orange, and a pepper. So for when we refer to Chinese tourist groups, how does the Chinese food culture affect the tourist groups? As we believe warmth is good for the stomach loves warmth and dislike cold. So for our tourist groups, when I used to organize meals for them, for example, 3-course meals, sometimes the first course is a salad. We would contact the suppliers, the restaurant, to change the starter as soup instead of a salad, and also serving water, not ice water, preferably hot water or warm water, let's say room temperature water. And in Amsterdam airport, this is also before COVID, they have this setting for Chinese passengers with they were given heating bottles, providing them with hot water there. And this link will be stayed here as well, that if you're interested, you can take a look of the promotion at the time. This is 2018. So how about tea or coffee? I would say this is not strictly Chinese drink tea, not necessarily, it's a personal taste. So either tea or coffee, it's about your personal taste. And then you may also have heard of fortune cookie. It's actually not from China. It is often served as a dessert in Chinese restaurants in the United States and some Western countries, but it is not a tradition in China. So here is the drinking, the very heavy drink and also very famous in China, baijiu. Ganbei means cheers in Chinese. So this is a very strong alcohol. Baijiu is colorless Chinese liquor, typically coming between 35% or to 60%. I have this screenshot here. This is actually one of the most famous baijiu Chinese alcohol in China, and it is sold here in Alago in Finnish this alcohol store as well. And you can see that in the description, the alcohol is 53%. It's quite strong alcohol here. And eating in China is not just for the food, it's also important, this social interaction. You have this round table eating style here. As you see in the center, there's a glass plate. The glass plate can rotate. So when you put food in there, give it first to the seat of honor, the person who is the main guest, and then you can rotate it on the table. So it's a round table seating style here. And here's another photo. You can see we rotate it, and then people sit around the big round table and we share the food. And chopsticks. Have you ever tried chopsticks? For us, it's quite common to use chopsticks and learn it as very young. And never stick chopsticks into your food, as you see in this photo here, no and yes. So don't do that because it's associated with death, like the old style, this Asian style of tomb. So that's not good to do. And that's why we have a chopstick holder here in the picture on the right. So how about if you are a destination here, restaurant here, do you serve your group, do you serve the Chinese groups with chopsticks or fork and knife? And this is something to, if you have a groups, discuss with the group leader, tour leader, that which way the guests prefer, or to this tour operator who booked it with you. So it's also, again, a matter of choice. Food as a product. If you run a restaurant, for example, there is the option to have food as a product, offering shopping opportunities for the guests after the meal in the restaurant. This is a picture from one restaurant in Helsinki. It's a vegetarian restaurant, and they have a corner here also selling their products. And how about outdoor seats and outdoor eating in the nature? Would Chinese groups like this option? When I was as a tour operator, when I was having groups in Norway, when I book seats there in the summertime for our groups, I write email specifically tell the restaurant that we need indoor seats, because in the summertime the weather is good, outdoor seats is really nice. And but for our groups, we communicated with our agent in Hong Kong already that the guests prefer indoor seats. So this you need to keep in mind when you have the outdoor seat option, that do you provide which way for the groups which come to you, or if you are the tour operator. And then outdoor eating in the nature, this is an experience as well. So it's, again, depends on the group's needs. Here are some very authentic way to eat here in Scandinavia, and this is pictures from Sweden. Actually, the group were in Sweden at the time. How about numbers, beliefs? So every culture has their own lucky and unlucky numbers. Number 8 is the most favorable number in modern China, and also 6. They are considered to be a good number, and number 4 is considered to be bad luck. And not only in China, in some other Asian countries, number 4 is also considered as a bad luck number. So here is a screenshot. VR is the Finnish railway system where you can book train tickets. And here is a train ticket I almost booked for myself. From Jyväskylä to back to Helsinki to Tikkurila. So did you see something in here? The date, the time, and it says Pandolino 88, Vaunu 4, and Istupaikka 44. Vaunu is the wagon, so wagon number 4. The seating place is 44. When you book train tickets from VR website, if you use your computer, you can choose your seat. Where you would like to sit, which wagon you would like to choose. But when you book it from your phone, which I did, then it automatically assign you to a wagon and to the seat. So when I see this on my browser, I'm telling myself I'm not going to take this seat. So even though I have lived in not live in China for many years, but still this traditional culture still kicks in that I wouldn't want to sit in seat place which is 44 and the wagon is number 4. So I rebooked the ticket but took a screenshot to kind of use it here as part of the presentation. How about the lucky colors? The colors Chinese would like to use here. And why? Here's a screenshot of a Finnish investment company that you can see it is from Nordnet. You can see the company, you can see the growth and how the stock goes. So it shows here the growth is showed with green color, and the decline is showed as a red color. So how about in China? Totally the opposite. So in China, the red color is for declining, and green color is actually for the growth. And also this is another picture from China during the Chinese New Year. This tree is decorated as a money tree here with a golden color and red color. This is another restaurant in China. You can see the resemblance also with these two colors. The reason is that red color represents happiness, success, and good fortune. For example, we use red envelopes to give money, but nowadays it's more like mobile way to give the red envelope in your mobile payment. And yellow or gold color is the royal and power of the throne. As you see, the picture here is one of the emperor in China from the Qing dynasty. So the combination of these two colors, you can see them in gift wrapping packagings. It's very common. This is a picture from 2020. That's the year for mouth, or for Happy New Year, and you can see the color is decorated in this red and the gold color. And this is actually from Finland, from Helsinki-Vantaa Airport. It is, now you can see recognize the brand here, Fazer chocolate and Lumine package, Itala cups. So this is to promote in the airport the Finnish different shops, where to get to the different shops, and then you can collect stamps. Unfortunately, COVID came, so that year. The gift culture, once again, we see this very familiar color here, and we present gift with both hands. And Chinese usually refuse a gift in the first, to be polite, but offered it as a second time. And there are some gifts I would recommend you shouldn't give to a Chinese. For example, clock, pairs, mirrors, shoes, or black or white objects, because black and white objects are usually used in funerals. And why not clocks? As you see the cartoon here, it is because of the pronunciation in the Chinese words, that when you say Song Zhong, give clock, literally, it's actually you're referring somebody is dying or death. For pairs, mirrors, pairs is about separation. It's also related to pronunciation. For shoes, it's also devil. It's also the pronunciation. For mirrors, it reflects bad spirit, so it's also not good as a gift. How do Chinese regard traveling and shopping? Or here we will see some examples. Here's some political background of Chinese outbound tourism. And you can see Chinese tourists here in India with selfie sticks. And here is the timeline of Chinese outbound tourism. And I remember in the 1990s, what you see here in this picture are quite common. We have this mini world, we call it. So Beijing Silver Mine is an Instagram account that it has an archive of 500,000 of negatives from those years from 1985 to 2005. You can see how we were traveling back then. That White House, and that's the Pisa Tower, and this Liberty, Statue of Liberty. And then how about nowadays, how Chinese regard traveling? So long-haul leisure trip is very popular. And here I have an example for you. This is actually an actual group in the summertime with the summer routes here in not only in Finland, but also in the other Nordic countries. Make a quick calculation. How many days is this summer route? They first landed in Helsinki, then continue the flight to Ivalo, and then continues to Norway, and then back to Finland, then to Sweden, to Norway, and then the ending point is Copenhagen in Denmark. Then they fly back to Hong Kong. So how many days is this summer route? Any guessing? If you would like to guess, you can also type in the chat as well. So in this tour, flight is used, and also coach is used, and also cruise, as you see, between Helsinki and Stockholm. So for this summer route, it is 13 days. It's quite a tight schedule as a 13 days trip to go through all these destinations. And as a tour operator, we need to book our accommodation half a year in advance. So for the summer groups, which are start coming in June, we actually need to make the hotel allotment booking already in January. When we actually especially Norway, when we contact Norway accommodation site, they told us that you're too late, and that was January to book something for the summer. Another reason behind this, because our groups are series groups, so it has to maintain the same quality and the same hotels. They need to stay, all the groups stay in the same hotel. So that's why it's very challenging. And then the demand for flexibility in tourism sector for Chinese groups, be prepared for being flexible. So here's example for one hotel in Saariserkka in Finland. We booked winter groups, everything was okay. And then in the summertime, when we need to book dinner time for these groups in the hotels, the hotel was very reluctant to give me the dinner time. So I called to the hotel and asked them that, well, in the winter time, you're able to give us this like 6 o'clock for dinner, 7 o'clock for dinner. We need to know that time because the groups need to continue with the evening activities. So I need to book the time for the group. But now in summertime, why you couldn't give us the time? And the hotel side told us that because your groups in the winter time are barely on time. And there are always this last minute change, being late, but there is also a reason behind it, because the groups who were traveling to Saariserkka, they are traveling down from Norway. I will later show you a itinerary soon from Norway. So in the winter time, the driving time is kind of challenging. Even though you see it is 3.5 hours to drive, but in reality, it can be 4.5 hours. So we need to make a lot of adjustment, last minute changes for the groups. So be prepared for being flexible. And then here, I have an example to show you that typical group itinerary that Chinese travelers would try to squeeze as many experiences as possible. For example, this route, as I mentioned about the driving time. So from Norway, Kirkenes, and to Finland, Saariserkka, the starting of the day is 9 a.m. Norwegian time in Norway, which in Finnish time, that's 10 o'clock. So what is the ending hour of this day? For morning, they are starting from Kirkenes. They are doing the king crab experience and the lunch there. And then late afternoon, they arrive in Saariserkka. They visit the husky farm, make the activity of husky sledge ride. And in the evening, they check into hotel and then have dinner, and they have snow tank aurora hunting activity. So the day ends about 9 p.m., 10 p.m. in in Finnish time. This is very long day because they start their evening, this aurora hunting about 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And then the evening ends pretty late. And this is a very full day program. Collect evidence during their trips. And so photos are very, very important for group travelers, also for individual travelers. And it is important to include famous attractions. Here is some tour packages, group tour packages by Chinese travel agencies. And be aware, these are the price for before COVID, because now the outbound market hasn't opened yet. There's still the restriction of traveling to China, which I will mention later. As you can see here, the typical package tours, like 13 days, traveling in Germany, France, Italy, Switzerland, and 10 days in Austria, Czech Republic, Hungary. And this is the group packages tours sold by Chinese travel agencies. Here, very colorful pictures, and also this very Finnish sauna and reindeer experience. And these some other examples. And nowadays, the social media channel is becoming very, very important. And this is the most important source of information concerning outbound travel. And have you heard of Douyin? Douyin is the Chinese version of TikTok, or let's say vice versa. TikTok is the Western version of Douyin. So it's a short video streaming app that launched in September 2016, and it has grown extremely popular to create short videos. And in the tourism promotion sector, also it is a good channel to promote tourism destinations. For example, here, Xi'an tourism. Xi'an is the Asian capital of China. Tourism Commission signed a cooperation contract with Douyin to produce video campaigns to raise the awareness of Xi'an's culture, cuisine, and also here you can see on the left side. How about the challenges of promoting small cities? As in Toolbox Consulting, we're also promoting different Finnish destinations. And here, think a little bit when you need to promote a remote area or small cities or territories which are not yet unknown to the Chinese market. How would you do that? What are the challenges? And then the key is you need to create unique selling points that they can be connected to well-known person or celebrity or movies or to events connected to China. So this way people can feel related to. It is very challenging. So keep in mind, this is one approach. So here is an event which we were in 2019. It's a China Outbound, COTTM, China Outbound Travel and Tourism Market. This is purely focused on outbound markets. This is our stand there. We have companies from Russia, from Baltic states, and from Finland with us in that COTTM event. Here I would like to show you. This is, can you recognize what is this? This is Amber, our client who came with us to COTTM in 2019, brought some amber on the table. So this is a few days event. On the first day, they put it there as a decoration for the table because this is something, they are from Baltic states. So they are as a decoration. We have Chinese clients passing by and ask about this. And our Baltic tour operators, they are feeling strange. They said, well, we're a travel agency. Why do they ask about ambers? We're not selling ambers, we're travel agencies. So we explain to our clients, we need to create unique selling points, make people feel related to, like the different benefits of amber and this kind of topics. And also we have one Chinese buyer there coming to our stand and tell me that I will share with you how Chinese culture is, and he shared how it will be more approachable to Chinese clients when you create stories about amber. So on the second day and also the third day of the event, our client, the tour operator from Baltic states, they advanced their knowledge quite fast. When clients approach and they start to share that, oh, we can provide Amber related tours. For example, we can show you how this workshop, how to make Amber to become a jewelry and museums. So they get the idea that you need to create a unique selling point to promote your region. And the importance of shopping for Chinese tourists. As you see, this is one picture from a health products store in Helsinki that selling health products to tourists. And because we value health very much in Chinese culture, and also the quality of the products are very well here in Finland. And here is about the tourism expenditure here. In 2019, you can see the peak, China here. And consumerism is one of the most important elements of Chinese society nowadays. And it is actually just most recently, this 11th of November. Also in Finland here, we have Black Friday just recently, and Black Friday from Talk Money, from Sports Shop, and here also from Stockmann, there's Black Weekend. And this is originated from Alibaba Group. This created here in 2009 for this single day event, because this number one, it's like a sticks, so 4 sticks like single there. And here we have some figures about how this single day event in China. This is the figure from 2017, how in 3 minutes and 1 second, this much of retailing total sales is reached. It's very short time. And this is the figure from 2018, 30.8 billion in sales, US dollar in sales in 24 hours. And this is huge. And now we can see the latest figure. We can see from 2021. And also there's a growth year by year for this Alibaba's sales on single days. And this is one culture aspect about going shopping. Pour at home, be generous at traveling. This doesn't apply for everybody, but it applies for some people. So they are very generous, buying souvenirs and presents for their relatives and friends, or buy branded stuff. But it's not necessarily that they are also the same way when they are not traveling. So this is very important for tour packages, tourists participating in these tour groups, that you offer the shopping opportunity. So here is also the picture from Wantai Airport before COVID. When I first take a look at this, I thought I was in China. And when you take a careful look, you can see this is mixed with Finnish brands here. And also, again, this shopping option here in Wantai Airport, they're promoting different shops there. And there's another Chinese mentality for shopping. It's follow the others, 跟风, buying the same souvenir with people from the same groups. I was with a group. This is the picture from one group in 2018. These clients actually, they are not average tourists. They're actually guests, VIP guests invited by Visit Finland, coming to participate the Matka workshop day every year, the travel fair in January in Finland, in Helsinki. So they have a few hours of gap time before they head to the farm trip. So we took this group to Jungbo, nearby the airport, to a Howdy outlet. The reason why we took them there, because one guest he didn't have a winter hat with him, and those which are sold in the airport, they look more like tourists, kind of too funny for him. So he would like to buy proper winter clothes. And we took him there, and other guests actually, they don't need to buy anything, but he, looking for one hat, end up buying many products, and then other guests are buying also many products in that outlet shop. And I was joking with my colleagues that I should have talked to the shop in advance to take a commission or something, because this is their shopping. They shop a lot. And here is the line in front of Louis Vuitton. This is 2019 in the summer, actually before the store opens. As I mentioned, that commission, so tour guide versus tour leader. Tour guide usually is local. They are in the local countries here. For example, group coming to Finland, then we'll have tour guide for them. And tour leaders is the person who travel with them throughout this their entire tour, starting from China, then hop in different countries, and then all the way being with the group. That's the difference. And also commission. Some of them get commissions from the guest shopping as well. And the purpose of shopping, and there's another purpose of shopping rather than gifts and souvenirs, is for resale, for example, to resell things on Chinese e-commerce website. And this is a picture from my friend who is buying for resale these finished products to the Chinese in the Chinese shop, online shop. How about cash? Many years ago, that's true, but nowadays it's more mobile payment with Chinese consumers. We have WeChat Pay, Alipay payment. And this Alipay payment is actually, I took this picture in a cruise, Thalix line there. They have this Alipay, and also in the airport, you can notice there's accepted Alipay as well. And I have tried to use cash when I visit Beijing in 2019 as an experiment. And then people look at me as if I'm from another planet, like, really? So mobile payment is very widely used in China. And this picture here is a taxi driver have different devices taking orders here. So it's highly digital in big cities. And tips from accommodation providers. Most important one, have a kettle in accommodations that guests would like to, for example, have warm water, hot water. And also Chinese speaking staff will be very helpful as well. And then we talk about the Chinese New Year here. This is one of the most important holiday in China. Does it affect tourism? And what do Chinese people do? Chinese New Year is according to the Chinese lunar calendar. So every year is different time. Generally, it's in January and February of the year. And during Chinese New Year, we make traditional food. We give red envelopes. And also we stick this happiness character on the door, which I will show you the picture. But what is this red underwear for? I will show you soon. So here's the Chinese New Year for next year, 2023. It's the rabbit year. And it is this time it falls on the lunar calendar on the 22nd of January for this rabbit Chinese New Year. And this you can see from the door. This is my parents' place. And we put this full character. And by the way, on the left picture, they put it wrongly. They should put it upside down, which means Fu arrives. And here is the front door, how we decorate it. As you see from this front door here, this is the old-fashioned way that we write these the Chinese couplets, and then you put it on the door, say greeting words. And also this is the traditional paper card. I must have taken this picture on the dog ear. That's why it's a dog. And you can ignore the pollution on the background. It's not that bad nowadays. So this is the reason why earlier in the slide that there is this red underwear clothes. So every 12 years, we have these 12 animals for this Chinese zodiac. So when it's your own zodiac year, we believe that you wear something red to kind of fight against this bad luck year, because we believe when it comes to your own zodiac year, it is the bad luck year actually. And we also have love compatibility for this different Chinese zodiacs. For example, rooster and dragon is a good match, but rooster and rabbit is a bad match. Mid-Autumn Festival is also another important festival in China. This year it falls in September. It's usually around September or early October. We eat mooncake, and you see here Starbucks, this Western brand, also have mooncakes to be sold in China as well. And this is a problem about excessive packaging. So from the picture, you can see here only 6 pieces of mooncakes, but with so much of packaging. So in 2010, the government has introduced these regulations against this to limit the number of packaging layers and also the void space. So this way to be more environmentally friendly as well. Business antics in China. And so I'll give you a moment to take a look at this picture here. This to preferably avoid any political topics. So we have here Facebook and Google and YouTube. And nowadays I've noticed WhatsApp is not functional in China as well. So it's good to have some different warm-up topics than political talks. And some other tips here. And do not in any way suggest Taiwan is not part of China to a Chinese person. And also show respect to older people. For example, offer a seat to an elder person as a polite gesture. And not feel insulted if Chinese ask you some personal questions. So this cartoon here is a person who has lived in China. He drew this cartoon to illustrate that it's called a time-saving T-shirt. So it's written in Chinese. I'll read it for you. 1, Canada. 2, 3 years. 3rd, work. 27 years old. Get used to it. I will not tell you. Of course, Chinese. So basically, it's meaning that I'm from Canada, been here for 3 years. I work. I'm 27 years old. I get used to life here. I will not tell you. Maybe it's salary. And then the last one is, of course, like Chinese food. So do not be insulted if Chinese ask you personal questions. It's just part of the hospitality as well. And Chinese traditional medicine, I add this slide because we have, in the past, students have feel curious about this. So we add a few slides here. This cupping therapy. Have you recognized this Olympics winner, Michael Phelps? So he's on Instagram. He's having this cupping therapy. This is also part of the traditional Chinese medicine. And also this lady here, Miss Tu Yu, she won the Nobel Prize in medicine in 2015. And the idea of why she won it, because she got influenced by one, when she was doing her research, she got influenced by one traditional Chinese herb medicine source in this book, that how to treat that herb to be in cold water. So to get that ingredients to use in her research. So this is 2015. And here is a picture. This is the traditional way how we cook, so-called cook Chinese medicine. I'll give you a short example here that the story of me and a Finnish lady. Many years ago, I encountered a Finnish lady and she visited China to have a Chinese course. She speaks really good Chinese already. So she also visited China to plan to visit China to see a Chinese traditional medicine doctor. I was young at the time. I don't really believe in much in Chinese medication. So in the next couple of emails, we're trying to talk to each other. We try to convince each other or talk about Chinese medication. But nowadays I have changed as I'm aging. I feel this Chinese medication in many ways help you when this modern medicine is not really yet could help you. But anyway, the story behind this that when we discuss about cross-cultural issues, it's not necessarily you listen to the person who is from the culture. It's also important to open your mind to listen to people who from a different culture, how they see the cross-cultural issues. So it's also important to keep open-minded for these topics. And the last part, we will briefly take a look at the COVID-19 situation. And that has been almost 3 years, Hubei lockdown. Every time I come back to this topic, I need to check my mind about the year. Yes, it is not 2 years ago, it's almost 3 years ago. So Hubei lockdown on 23rd of January. And if you work in tourism at a field in that time, you remember this date, 27th of January, the stop of outbound groups. So the groups are not able to travel anymore. And this is just before the Chinese New Year. So this such a big chaos at the time for tour operators and of course for the health-wise in COVID situation as well. As you see the picture here, city lockdown, and the city looks really empty. And before COVID, there are many direct flights to China operated by Finnair, and also some other airline companies also operate direct flight to China. Let's just take a look at Finnair here. Here are different cities from China to Finnair. How about nowadays? Nowadays, when you search for flight to China, basically it's Shanghai. And I read the news from media recent 1 week. Another airline company is going to resume the routes between Helsinki and I think it's Zhengzhou, and a city in China, to resume this direct flight. So this is from the flight perspective, this is the current situation. And you may notice this flight ticket is quite expensive as compared to before COVID. And also throughout the past 2 years and a half, the restrictions of testing and restriction of quarantine has all changed. So the current situation is that just recently, this month, they have reduced this quarantine time to 5+3. So 5 days together quarantine, 3 days quarantine your own home. And before you fly to China, you need to take the COVID test to be able to board on the airplane. And lastly, we have the assignment for you. So 3 assignments: design a family travel package, focusing on nature for Chinese tourists traveling in Finland in post-COVID era and explain why. And secondly, how would you market central Finland as a destination to Chinese tourists? And third one, that why health products are popular purchase for Chinese tourists. And here is the deadline for your update, and also a maximum 4 pages. Remember to including the sources. Okay, thank you. That's the end of my slide. I will leave this room back to Kari.
Thank you. Do you have any questions towards Vivian regarding her presentation? We quickly went through so many different topics, but now it's a good time to comment. This Vivian's assignment was already introduced in the Moodle system, and you can find them from the assignment section. And you have to choose one of those topics. You don't have to write them all of this Chinese outbound market. So from that Japanese list, you have to pick up one. And from this Chinese list, you have to pick up one topic, and you are writing this 4 pages long description as an essay about your thoughts. I quickly go through some of the market findings regarding this Chinese outbound market. And naturally, we don't have so much to deliver because the mainland China is mainly closed, also regarding Hong Kong. These two markets are totally different to each other. That's why we like to separate this. And also, I will have a kind of conclusion pre-recorded video regarding Japanese and Chinese markets, and also including Taiwan, because also Taiwanese customers are acting differently as a visitors, as a tourist. So it's nice to compare this together. And this is going to be part of my conclusion, my presentation, which will be pre-recorded this week. I'm airing this from Stockholm, but I want to highlight about this visa-free possibilities of Chinese travelers, that they are able to travel almost everywhere with their passports. And some of these countries are having also access, visa-free access, or giving some kind of easier to get that visa for many countries, especially in Africa, South America, and also in Asia. And also in Balkan countries, there are many countries have been giving this easier right for Chinese people to travel. So this has been happening now since 1997, when this regulation of outbound travel was eased by the Chinese government. So if you were watching already my South Korea presentation, I was talking about that. If we are comparing South Korea and the Chinese and Japanese market, we could see a Japan matured market, Korean market somewhere there in between, and now China is like taking these first baby steps to develop that market. Even so, China was before COVID-19 the biggest outbound travel market and the biggest spenders. We could put the number 2 and number 3, United States and Germany together, and even we weren't close to this, how much Chinese people were spending. And that's why Vivian was talking about so much this, how to say, this shopping issue, because shopping is playing very important role. And it's also, you have to understand that there are already some companies who are not earning anything from these Chinese markets, or those destinations either, if they don't have the shopping facilities available. Here's a list of the Schengen countries. Schengen is also playing very important role for these Chinese guests, all the Asian guests who are coming to spend their time in Europe. And you have to remember that United Kingdom and Ireland are not part of the Schengen, but Norway, Iceland, Switzerland are part of the Schengen. So it's nothing to do with the European Union only. And then we have some green countries there. Romania, Bulgaria, and Croatia wanted to have that access to be part of the Schengen policies. Now, because this war has been going on in Europe, there have been some kind of discussions to wondering that is this Schengen policy still functionable, but we still have this treaty, and this gives the people among European Union to have an easy access to travel all over the Europe, pretty much. If you're applying the visa that in China, or Chinese person wants to apply a visa, we have there in Beijing an embassy, and naturally also consulate in Shanghai, but also we have so-called visa offices elsewhere in the second or third tier cities in China. Many Nordic countries have been establishing, especially Denmark and Finland, those offices. I wanted to highlight one of those symbols of Beijing. This is actually the CCTV headquarters in Beijing. And one of the architects was actually Finnish-born Anu Leinonen. And I don't know, Vivian, perhaps you can correct
Kari,
me.
sorry to interrupt. The slide, it doesn't
show. Okay, sorry. It might be then with system. Sorry about that. Vivian, was it that CCTV headquarters that
Yes, I think that's the CCTV new TV tower there.
I would jump there. Here,
Yeah.
the one
Yes.
I wanted to show. And the locals are calling those shorts or trousers because the specific features of that building. But it's like a new symbol of Beijing, not only this where the former emperors were living, emperors dynasties were staying. Also, this has been coming some kind of, you can frequently see that on the Beijing photos. Yes, I have been listing some of these visa application centers in China. So when I started in the Chinese market in 2002, in those days, Chinese visitors has to come to this embassy or consulate offices, or some of them, for the interview to get the visa. And those days it was more like group traveling, not the traveling what we see today, perhaps more FITs, more these individuals to travel all over the Europe. I want to highlight the start of this outbound travel. It was for this approved destination status policy. First, they were like Australia, New Zealand, which were getting that. And also Finland was interviewed, asked for this kind of like permit privately, independently, regardless of the European Union. But later on, European Union was kind of forcing that we have to apply this ADS status together. And this was mainly for the small group visas to get that easier. And Finnair was very active in those days, around 20 years ago, when these Finnair operations were expanding more on the Chinese markets. Here, as Vivian told you, that it's a frequently group traveling. Chinese people are very time poor, but very rich for spending. So they are combining easily several countries, and that makes that kind of challenging, that you have to cooperate of many countries and many destination management companies to make that package all over. And I was talking to my pre-recorded presentation in South Korea about stopover, and the stopover was that was the one reason, and a big reason for being a big failure, because we were mainly concentrating how we could handle that in Finland, when this Chinese tour operation travel agency said, well, Finland is 1 night or 2 nights maximum. What about the rest of the 12 days or 14 days program? Here is the historical background of this tourism development. So we consider 1997 like a starting point for this Chinese outbound travel. Before that, it was mainly for these diplomats and business travelers who were able to come to, for example, to Finland. And beginning of this kind of opening of Chinese market, we could see already 1970s, when there was this ping pong diplomacy, table tennis diplomacy between Jimmy Carter and also the Chinese leaders in those days. Jimmy Carter was a US president in 1970s, and the table tennis diplomacy was starting from that kind of performance of table tennis. There was like athletes from China and United States, and they were competing on table tennis. So it could be starting from that kind of ideas. As I mentioned, Chinese people are able to travel all over the world, and they have been rapidly growing these numbers of Chinese customers. Already in 2012, we saw already that it was like leaving United States and Germany behind in the volumes, but also in spending. It is not any more restricted as it was, but same time also these Chinese customers, the kind of international politics is also always involved with this this kind of situation where the Chinese tends to travel and not to travel, or how the government is kind of saying that what is favorable to travel and less favorable to travel, like what has been Norway and Denmark and also Sweden partly facing during these past years. Normally, because they were so money poor and not money poor, money time, less time for spending the time in the country. So that's why the less known destinations were not that popular to visit. They were always asking accessibility. But later on, the Chinese people have been frequently traveling to Europe. They have been also exploring other, like a third-tier cities or destinations which are less challenging to find. But the status that when they are returning back to their home, it has to be deliver something. The stories, the places, there are somehow famous places. So that's why they are eager to even travel with the long hours of bus drive to find that location, taking lots of pictures and hopefully do some shopping as well. We have been seeing now also another phenomenon that they are getting younger and younger also, these travelers. Also, we have been seeing few groups of ladies traveling, very similar like in Japan and in South Korea. So perhaps after COVID time, that will be a new customer group, a segment where to focus. And they are following like East Asian phenomenon. This was supposed to be the situation, the steady growth of Chinese visitors coming to Europe, traveling globally, but the COVID-19 interrupted everything. So it is almost drop dead now for these 3 years' time. And what we have been seeing that leisure travel, business travel can be combined very easily by the Chinese visitors. And the idea also to take some of these purchases, what they have been buying in Europe during the European trip, they might be even selling to different Alibaba C2C platforms, because the digital selling and buying is so popular in China. We here in Finland, we are very much behind the development of that digitalization, what we can see in China. And then even that everybody here in Finland and in Europe wants to have these Chinese customers back. Before COVID-19, China's role or Chinese market, if we are looking from the Chinese point of view, it was a small. The neighboring countries, going to the Thailand, Vietnam, Japan, Korea, Taiwan, was much more important than this European market. Europe was just playing that 10% market share. And this is from 2018, 2019, we don't have yet these Chinese arrivals, but there you can see that also it was spread it up quite nicely from Western Europe to Eastern Europe, Southern Europe and Northern Europe, where they wanted to go. Most popular destinations for FIT, free independent travelers in 2019, they were listed here, and there you can see that the neighboring countries were playing very important role. And United Nations World Tourism Organization hasn't been established this latest 2019 top spenders, but there you can see that how much Chinese people were spending during their trips all together. And there you can see that if you put USA and Germany together, we are not close to this Chinese number. And it was expected to grow from one year to another. These statistics were made by Visit Finland, and we have to be very cautious when we are talking about this kind of cross-border studies. This is always carried by this Research Institute of Finland, and it was made like interview at the airport, harbors, where people are crossing the border, and when they are departing, not when they are arriving. And they are asking how much you are spending and what kind of services you have been spending. And these statistics were showing that 2017, that one individual Chinese on the average is spending this 1,262 euros. So now you understand where the average Finnish person is spending around 60, 70 euros per person, why tourism destinations are looking for these Chinese customers. Everybody wanted to have their Chinese. And here you can see that there's a quite big and a very big difference between the different target market areas. But the method of interviewing is also a cross-cultural issue. And we should be very cautious about when we are talking about how much they were spending and for what reason they were spending. But we could see the series, that would be more interesting, like why Chinese people were spending 2016 940 euros, but 2017 1,262 euros. That's the question. And this makes also this cross-border study, rajahaastattelututkimus in Finnish, somehow that we have to have more measurements to see what was the realistic number of money for each of these nationalities in their spending. Something themes, what they want to have, travel, photography. Photo shooting is so important for many these Chinese, but also Japanese customers. But it's like evidence when you're returning back home, I can show that I have been in those places. It might be elevating your status. So that's why photo shooting should be a must thing in the normal travel packages. But there you can see very similar what the others are having. Hidden gems, history, culture. Well, hiking, not so much like a really 10Ks or 20 kilometers hiking programs. I haven't seen so many Chinese customers to do, perhaps a smaller, like I have doing around the one Nuuksio National Park lake, which was perhaps a maximum 1 hour. And we were spending most of the time on fire, campfire there, making have a cup of coffee and cinnamon roll. Education, school camps, quite important themes in China. Northern Lights, cruise passengers, springing and skiing, Finland and Switzerland, mainly like cross-country skiing. This is show why we have to be, even that the Chinese people are spending so much here in Finland, but the average length of stay is so poor. And here I have been comparing Hong Kong's market and the mainland China market, and they are very similar to each other, even though we see in Hong Kong incentive traveling. But then in Lakeland district, we found that, oh, mainland China, they are spending lots of time, and we might be seeing there also some work or business travel, why their average length of stay was so long. Here, next slide, this was pre-COVID time. This is now the current situation. Now I have been adding Taiwan. I will talk about Taiwanese customers more in this pre-recorded presentation. And there you can see that this current situation is quite drastic. We have lost most of these big numbers of both Hong Kongese and mainland China. And Taiwan has never been the most attractive target market areas. And earlier, they used to use Hong Kong as a hub, not anymore. But Lapland and Helsinki, Greater Helsinki area used to be the main target destinations for these tourists from mainland China and also from Hong Kong, but also it has been spreading to the Lakeland district. Archipelago coastline hasn't been playing so important role, perhaps so far. They need to explore, and accessibility need to be solved. Now I'm jumping to the different part. These previous slides I will show you later, but I will talk about technical visits. Technical visits are quite popular, or used to be quite popular, for the Chinese, Japanese, and Korean customers. There used to be also tour operators who were interested about only selling technical visit programs. I consider that theme as a business traveler or business tourism, because mainly these are from public and private sector, especially in China, more like from the public sector. And it's like an incentive travel. The region, government, city, municipality is collecting a group of people, sometimes specialists, or some people that they have a important status among the community, and they are providing that trip to Europe as a gift, an idea that they are collecting information that can be later on, when they have been returning back to their home country and home destination, they can deliver that. They have been learning something. And when I was working for Helsinki City, I was handling by myself around 400 groups per year of the Chinese groups, and around 100 groups from Japan. And the ideas of these trips were mainly like a benchmarking. I organized four visits per day, and then some like a leisure possibilities, city sightseeing, or shopping possibilities. And these where they were able to prolong the length of stay from that 1 night or 2 nights up to even 4 nights time. And then they were continuing to Sweden, perhaps to France, perhaps somewhere else, and they were having similar programs. And this way they spend it 14, 16 days in Europe, and they returned back home. And these were like the first steps of tourism. 20 years ago, we started with the technical visit programs. And there's an umbrella also talking about technical visits called special interest programs. But there we can see also some kind of leisure themes more involved, like painters are coming for the courses, painting courses. But technical visits are pretty much for learning something, benchmarking, and it has been very popular in East Asia. These are the themes, but there could be a variety of ideas and motives why they are coming here. I have been organizing, for example, Alcoholic Anonymous group of visit there for those who are involved with the drug abuse treatments in China. I was having 2 groups visiting there. One group was only interested about the helicopters. One group has been talking about education, going different kind of school levels in Finland. And normally these visits are for 1.5 hours up to 2 hours. And there are maximum 16 people in those groups. Quite often they are from 4 to 16, not that bigger. At least I haven't had. But the technical visit programs are perhaps hopefully afterwards, when this COVID-19 is over totally, and China will be more open and the people are able to travel abroad, that we could start again these technical visit programs. This presentation will be continued as a pre-recorded video and presentation. I will be in Stockholm starting tomorrow. So on Thursday, I will put that video as well to the Moodle system. And also this Vivian's presentation will be in the Moodle system as a presentation and also as a video. Hopefully, I've been able to check that this South Korea and Southeast Asian videos are already visible for you. The presentations are there and also the videos are there. If not, just contact me. I will check what is the technical problem there. During this week, you are going to get quite many pre-recorded materials. And then next week, is it so that the Independence Day will be on Tuesday, the 6th of December? The Finnish Independence Day.
Yeah, good luck.
Okay.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah, so we are not going to have any webinars that time, but there will be some pre-recorded videos still downloaded to your Moodle system. But then the next following Tuesday, we have a kind of closure, but we keep that the closure also kind of like a presentation of these target market areas. I take something important hints about the Asia as a continent, but also these target market areas, which might be helpful in your multiple choice exam. And that's the time when we are giving you also directions how this multiple choice exam will be worked out technically, because I'm using this Moodle system. So I will show you where you can find that and also how you keep your materials open. So it's good to remember this multiple choice exam, you are able to keep all the materials open and take your right choice. There will be 40 questions covering China, Japan, South Korea, Southeast Asia, India, and Middle East, and Asia as a continent. We were lapping this a 1.5 hour time. Hopefully you got something related to the China and Chinese market. I know I have been trying to learn Chinese, Mandarin Chinese, but for me, the language pronunciation is so tough, but the grammar is the easiest in the world. So this way I could recommend you to take your Chinese course. Thank you for watching and listening. We are signing off now from here in Espoo, and please watch the Moodle system, and there will be some more pre-recorded materials regarding these different target market areas. Bye now.
Thank you. Bye bye.